This is Creating Your Encore Career and Becoming a Silver Entrepreneur with your host, Lynn Freest. Lynn will share ideas and expert advice from people that are walking in your shoes and living their encore careers, where they want and at the pace they want. You'll start a company of one with confidence and knowledge to live a fulfilled life of freedom and ease. Lynn is a coach and leadership consultant whose mission is to show senior leaders and experts how to start something refreshing and new after a full career in the corporate environment.
Well, welcome to this episode of the podcast, Creating Your Encore Career. This is episode 114, and it's about transformational leadership, a conversation with David Norris. As always, my goal is to help you create a compelling future for yourself in an encore career, or as I like to say, become a silver entrepreneur. I will also share ideas on how companies can connect with the talent that you can provide for them and create value for both their organization and for you. I always encourage you to visit my website and download the summary at the bottom of the podcast episode and use that as a tool to capture notes as you explore the concepts in this episode. And if you're considering or starting an encore career, please take the self-assessment quiz to help you create some quick clarity around your possible choices. Today, we're going to be talking with a marvelous man, Mr. David Norris. David began his banking career in 1981. For the next 25 years, David helped his bank grow from a two-location company of $20 million in assets to 35 locations in 24 communities and nearly $3 billion in total assets. It's now the 18th largest bank in Texas. He was also the team lead on 19 different bank mergers and acquisitions. Well, then David decided it was time for him to pursue a new goal to provide transformational leadership coaching and development as a solo entrepreneur. Now, he spent several years preparing himself and helping the company prepare for his transition. He prepared himself by studying many of the top authors in the leadership space and also getting some certifications. And this whole process helped him clarify how he was going to help people as a leadership development coach. Now, one of David's core principles is that it's not just experience that develops a leader, but evaluated experience through applied application. And this is where he and his one-on-one coaching comes in. Now, some of the questions we'll be talking about today include his journey to creating his own business, how he not only had to learn new things, but also to unlearn other things, why you should seek out a new room or a new group of colleagues and connections as you start on your entrepreneurial journey, how a great coach creates value to their clients by providing the truth to them, how attention to your calendar can make a big difference for a solopreneur, and finally, why he suggests that every leader carry 2 books with them. On to our interview. Welcome, David. I appreciate having you on the show to share your experience, expertise, and knowledge. But to get us started, I'd like to have the opportunity to just introduce yourself and some of what you've been on in your journey.
Thank you, Lynn, and I'm honored to be here. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I hope I can add some value to folks. But I'm 67 years old, Lynn, and I'm a native Texan. I've been, except for my 5 years as a Marine Corps infantry officer, I've always lived here in Texas. And having left the Marine Corps in 1981, I fell into the banking business out here in West Texas and followed that journey. Only 2 banks I ever worked for, 10 years and then 25 years at the other place. However, I felt that longing and discontent to do something different. Leadership was just absolutely the study of it, the practice of it. And I just had the, as Napoleon Hill would say, a burning desire to actually go do something else. Worked for a wonderful, wonderful organization. We grew that bank from one of the smallest banks in Texas to one of the largest banks in Texas during my 25 years there. 11 mergers and acquisitions along the way. Saw a lot of action in that realm, but I still had the desire to do something different. So I announced my intention to depart. Took us a couple of years to find the successor and to redo some things and moved on. And at age 60, I embarked on my own leadership consulting, leadership coaching business and have not looked back.
Great. So I was intrigued by said there was a transition that before you left. Any key things that you did to prepare yourself for your next journey as a leadership coach during that time?
Yeah, great question. Is that one, I was reading everything I could get my hands on in that realm, from John Maxwell, Stephen Covey, Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, all of them out there, Jack Canfield, Success Principles, just absorbing everything I could get. Plus, shall we say, borrow some credibility, getting a certification or two from John Maxwell, Mary Morrissey, Les Brown, Platinum speaker, to help really build the confidence and to be in a community of like-minded individuals and learn and grow myself. So now that it wasn't just the reading of the books, but it was also the bringing forth of the experiences from Marine Corps days to starting in banking, which after a couple of years in the 80s turned into the worst financial crisis of the 80s, if you're old enough to remember that. And then going from a small bank to an even smaller bank in that time frame, and then be able to be part of a team. I was chief operating officer, number 2 in charge of that bank, and to build a great enterprise, to build a great company. But no matter how good a place may be, okay, yeah, I still just believe that a person has to, Emerson put it this way, go not where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. And I think there's a trailblazer in all of us. And if there's something that's out there waiting until some time when you reach some number that pre-World War I Germany decided this is the age you retire, waiting for that, no, it just didn't appeal to me at all. So I embarked down a specific journey, mostly by reading, going to seminars, seeking out coaches and mentors, and preparing myself for that.
I think that's interesting too, because you mentioned the coaches, the mentors, people, like-minded people. I think we forget, especially as people a long time in the corporate world, that we got used to a group of people, whatever they were in the corporate world. Now, all of a sudden, we kind of have to find a new group. And I don't know if you found that or not.
Yes, sir, I did. And I'm not going to say that I found myself to be the smartest person in the group, but somebody really wise one time said that if you find yourself the smartest one in the room, you need a new room. I don't know that I was actually the smartest person, but I did know that while I had and believed in the shared values that we had in my bank, there was also something else calling me. And when something else is calling, the voice of God, just whatever that is, you're supposed to answer it. You have to. And seek out another room. And that, by the way, Lynn, is also part of the ongoing process, regardless of where anyone is in their journey to do this, is to always find that ever upward spiral of becoming. And you're never going to find the right room that's going to last you for the rest of your life. You're always going to have to look for that next step in moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the people in our audience there, they have an expertise, just as you have an expertise in banking. And you need to own that you do have that. But there's some new things you have to learn as you go out and share this on your own now. When I was in my manufacturing world, I probably spent very little time thinking about marketing, spent very little time thinking about finance, at least in the corporate world. So what are some of those things that were the transition pieces where, hey, I got to learn some new skills here?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned marketing too, because in my bank, our CEO, a wonderful man and still a very dear friend, although he's still a little miffed at me for leaving. But most bank CEOs come up through the commercial lending side, and a very small handful come up through the operational side. But he's the only one I ever know that came up through the marketing side, and he was a master at it. So I learned early on that, okay, I will delegate this to him because he said the only taste I have was in my mouth. So marketing, yeah, sales to a degree as well, finding the process, finding the system and following that without getting overly creative as to what I would like it to look like. That doesn't work real well, especially in the beginning. And so just, find the system, do what they say, and the results will come. So marketing was a good one. More importantly, for me, Lynn, in that realm was not so much what I had to learn, so much as what I had to unlearn or stop doing more than anything. Coming out of the world I came out of, I was a master delegator. And so now all of a sudden I'm the one, okay, now I've got to run to the Office Max to buy ink cartridges. What do you mean I have to make my own airline tickets? That type of thing. So you have to change the outlook and start doing some things, especially if you're a solopreneur, which is the way I do it. I don't even have a virtual assistant, but looking at everything that I was doing on a daily basis and determining whether that activity served my purpose, my vision for what it was I was trying to accomplish. That was the main thing. I call it my stop doing list. And then understanding that elimination is the highest form of optimization in what I wanted to do. And that didn't happen overnight. It actually took a couple of years and sometimes learning it the hard way, where you finally have to ask yourself, why am I doing that? Don't do that. I mean, is it really serving? No, it's just something I've always done. Oh, crap. You fall into that trap. The largest challenge for me has been, and being an operations guy in the banking world and also served as kind of the de facto chief financial officer for a number of years, is that I know I am very, very good with bookkeeping and keeping my numbers straight, but I found that I could also use the time, take that time I was spending on doing something that I was very comfortable in and using that as an excuse to not delve into the sales and marketing side. And so learning to outsource my financials, if you will, to a CPA and learning to not touch that and spend my time in content creation, locating and engaging and enrolling clients, which is the marketing, and doing that. That was probably the single biggest challenge I had, was recognizing things that I was actually very good at doing, but it was actually slowing me down.
Mhm. I can appreciate that. We have long careers, which means we have long ingrained habits. And again, especially when I was finding I was launching the new business and just getting started, it felt comfortable to go back to doing things I was comfortable with. Had to keep nudging myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it's a real challenge to kick myself on my own backside, but I have to do that sometimes.
Now, you mentioned when we talked earlier that you help entrepreneurs a lot with things around finance and paying attention because, again, people who are starting out, that may not be their background. So what are some of the things you've noticed as far as the whole financial piece in entrepreneurs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't really so much help them with the details of their own. If they want me to look at their financial statement or their budget or something like that, I'm happy to do so. I really want them to focus on the leadership that they apply to that by shining a light of awareness on the importance of being an entrepreneur, of starting a business, buying a business, whatever, is that the single largest leadership mistake an entrepreneur or business owner can make is not knowing their numbers. And whatever that, if they've got to learn to start doing financial yoga, let's figure out where that's done and how often it's done, how much of it you're going to outsource. I think that is the biggest thing. And I've seen it with experienced entrepreneurs and I've seen it with startups. I had a client, Lynn, who he did exactly what you and I are talking about. He left the corporate world to create his own renewable energy recruiting business and had a business partner, and they're just like brothers. They're fun to work with because they argue. It's funny, but they've known each other since third grade. And they really had this thing going. And in coaching them, they were on the brink, and I haven't really talked to them about their financials too much. They were on the brink of being shut down for $95,000 that they owed a vendor. And they were just about to cash it in. And I said, well, guys, what are your accounts receivable? I know you got a big chunk of accounts payable there. What's your cash position? What's your cash flow? And the bottom line of it is they had no idea. And I always tell them, well, you're the highest and best authority on what to do with your business. However, I suggest that your company has value in excess of $95,000. However, until you know your numbers, you're not going to have a clue what that value is. So they got to make a few phone calls, and within a couple of weeks, they were renewed in their energy and enthusiasm, and they came out swinging. That company now owes them a couple of $100,000, which is really cool. And they're thriving. They'll do $1 million in revenue, all because they know their numbers now. And they had to seek out. These guys are pretty much engineers, extremely intelligent people, but there are people out there that can support these people in that. Not knowing your numbers is a single largest leadership failure of any enterprise.
Sure. I can appreciate that. Yeah. And even if you're just getting started, but yeah, some of the, like you say, the startups, they don't get to that until they're almost 6 figures behind on something.
Yeah, exactly. I get a little brutal with these guys on accounts receivable aging. I don't get into the details of it, but I'm constantly asking them about it. It's so much fun, Lynn, because they finally get to where they'll report accounts receivable aging before I ask. But that's accountability. They become accountable to themselves for what it is they say they want. And accountability is a very high form of leadership. And that was the goal all along right there. Not just financial success, but success as human beings, as leaders. That's the issue, to become accountable to yourself for what it is you say you want. And knowing your numbers is a very large piece of that of any enterprise entrepreneurial endeavor.
Yeah, I was just a side note. I was talking to a guy a few weeks ago, and he was saying, well, I didn't like the boss I worked for before, but he says, but the boss I work for now is even harder on me.
That person in the mirror that's staring back at you. Yeah. He or she can be tough. I know.
So, David, I know you do a lot of coaching. You're a master coach, and you said you work with entrepreneurs and other people, leadership. What are some of the things you've noticed in working with a variety of people that's either helped them move ahead or maybe got in their way?
That's a great question, Lynn. I think a lot of entrepreneurs who, shall we say, are people starting out or experienced ones that are, looking for that next level of success, or even from success to more success to significance. What they're really looking for is someone that's going to speak the truth to them. They're truly looking for feedback. Doc Rivers, famous NBA player and coach, used to be with the Clippers. I'm not sure where he is now, but he said that average players want to be left alone. Good players want to be coached, but the great players want to be told the truth. So finding somebody, if somebody has the courage to handle the feedback that a coach or a mentor can give them, is the hallmark of success, because they want to know what they're doing wrong or what they're doing right, or when they need to be doing, what do they need to be thinking of. This is true of solopreneurs, but it's also more true of people that have a staff of people, that they have a team of, 2, 3 more, maybe 10 more, 25, hundreds more. It doesn't really matter. They're always going to have an inner circle close to them. And those people are really good people. I'm not wanting to disparage anything, because they're very good, especially in their skill set and what they're doing to drive the company forward. But more often than not, people in that inner circle do not have the skill set to tell the boss what the boss needs to hear when he needs to hear it. And that takes a skill set to be able to speak with a proper mix of care and candor and keep your integrity, and without it seeming as if there is some hidden agenda inside that. So my concept as a master coach is to create the innermost inner circle, and that's what I become. And that innermost inner circle is that environment of accountability, to where you want to be accountable for the things that you say you want. And like I say, I'll sprinkle some sugar with the salt on that with, okay, you're always the highest and best authority on what to do with your business. However, this is what I think, in my experience and my observation, and pointing out their blind spots, things that they're blind to. This is why I have, I've been at this for 7 years now, and I've got clients that have been with me 5 and 6 years, because they, regardless of economic conditions, regardless of political circumstances and situations and unrest in the world, the main area that they can control is the 6 inches of real estate between their ears, and what they can do to move themselves and their business forward, even in the presence of adverse conditions, circumstances, and situations. Helping them to understand that they have way more than they think they have. Just like in my example a while ago, guys, there's more value to your company than you think you have. However, until you know your numbers, you're not going to know that. When you can start pointing those out to people, blind spots, that's when the real growth occurs. I had a client Monday of this week call me up, a former client who's referred several people to me. I'm very grateful for that. I had recommended, highest and best authority. But my recommendation is, do not promote this man. You can give him a raise. He was looking for a title. I said, however, he's ultimately going his own direction. He wants his own show, and he thinks he can get it with a title in your company. He's a good man. He's a sharp guy. He really knows what he's doing, but he's not your long-term player. Obviously they thought better, and they did, but they called me to say that he had left to do his own thing and to come back and to review not only what they missed in that, even though somebody was pointing it out, but why they missed it, why they were blind to that. And it's a tough decision. Lynn, here's the thing. Anybody moving from a job into the world of the entrepreneurialism, this takes courage. This is not for the faint of heart. And there are some decisions that a lot of people will think they'll never have to make, and they're making them every day now. And by the way, it's a wonderful journey in doing that. And so I remind a lot of my clients in this realm is that it is very important to remember we're supposed to climb that mountain, not carry it. And climbing the mountain's tough anyway, ups and downs and peaks and valleys and rock slides and stuff like that. But it's a lot easier than carrying the thing.
Yeah, great. I think of my experience in manufacturing. So we had Six Sigma, and we 99.9% of the time never wanted to make a mistake. Well, that's a hard habit to give up when in the entrepreneurial world, 65% of the time, you're going to be wrong the first thing you do.
Yes, you are. Yep. But that's just it. That's climbing that mountain. Ah, yes. Lean Six Sigma. Yes. Very familiar with it. You can learn a lot down on the Gemba.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's marvelous stuff, and it's helpful even to entrepreneurs, but you have to think about what you know and what you need to do.
Let me just add this right quick in there. I've said earlier that not knowing your numbers is the single most leadership mistake an entrepreneur can make. There's a couple of others that actually, even in the ones experienced, I've alluded to this a little bit more, but I've had to do this. And that is helping them see that they can take control of their calendar. I love what John Maxwell says, your success is determined by your daily agenda, and nothing in your life is going to change until you change something you do daily. And learning to take control of that calendar and making sure that big rocks, little rocks, put the big rocks in first and all that, getting them to understand what the big rocks are. And then, first things first, not second things. A lot of times it's easier to get over it. Oh, let me just bring QuickBooks up to date, that type of thing, that distraction. But learning to show them and entering into an experiment as to what would work for them as to a calendar. It's a lot more than getting a calendar from the office supply store and writing things down. That's just one little teeny tiny step. Daily agenda and calendar, again, is back up here in the 6 inches of real estate between your ears. And that there's a lot of time during the day that they wasted doing things that they thought were important, that they thought were big rocks. And one of the things that I see with my clients, especially those of us that have more years behind us than we have in front of us, is, and I always really caution the 40-somethings, that there is time daily for their physical health and well-being, for proper nutrition and training, helping them to understand that their physical health is the key to their success. And so they have to take care of themselves first so that they can take care of business, so they can take care of the family, so they can take care of the employees, so that they can accomplish that. Failure to do so can trigger serious health issues. That doesn't serve anybody in that realm. One of the things that I have found that I recommend to everyone, I'll share it with people here, because in the world of sticky notes, they're everywhere. We write it down here. We write it down there. It's stuck up on your screen. It's on the bathroom door. It's on the mirror. I recommend people to enter into an experiment to always carry 2 books with them. 1 book to read, 1 book to write in, and write everything down. That phone number, that name, that appointment, that project. What did you assign yourself? What did you sign to each other? When is that project due? When am I supposed to make this phone call? Write it down every time. And then at least once a day, and preferably twice a day, it's all in one spot. Date it and flip back over it. And if something needs to go on the calendar, get it on the calendar. And preferably get it on a calendar that transcends all of your devices, from your computer to your phone, your iPad, whatever technology you're using. And every now and then make sure it's backed up or printed out. But that one thing right there, I believe it is and in quotation marks, the vaccine that can cure the pandemic of personal disorganization. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a place to where you've got a few minutes, rather than playing a game on your phone or cruising social media, which, by the way, turn that stuff off, you can pick up that book you carry. And I'm talking about reading. Yes, you can read what you enjoy reading, but read the classics, Think and Grow Rich, Science of Getting Rich, anything by John Maxwell, Covey, Drucker, Canfield, any of them out there that will help you. James Clear's Atomic Habits is a great one. Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek is a great one. And keep yourself in that right there. And you always have it right there with you. Make notes along the way. Become a serial highlighter in that book. Write notes in the margin, or if you use like a Kindle Paperwhite, highlight and make your notes inside the device and carry your library with you everywhere you go. What I like about the Kindle Paperwhite is all you can do is read books and download books on it. You can't check email or anything like that on the thing. Taking control of their calendar, taking control of their daily agenda, ensuring they have time for their own physical health and well-being, and carrying a book to read and a book to write in all the time, and engaging a coach that's going to bring them into an environment where they want to be accountable to themselves for what it is they say they want, are crucial to success.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a great set of things. And you mentioned that, writing everything down. Probably 20, 30 years ago, I was in a seminar with David Allen, and he said, your mind is for thinking about ideas, not for holding them. So that was his whole purpose. Get it captured somewhere, but don't try to hold it in your head, because it's not possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think it was Earl Nightingale who said that ideas are like slippery fish. Unless gaffed on the tip of a pen, will slip away. often to never be seen again. So that's the thing. I actually have one client who he told me the idea a month later was life-changing for him. And he had even taken it to another level. He now keeps a fistful of those 4-color ink pens, they got, black, blue, green, and red. And he color-coded his system. He knows what green is for, what black is for, what red is for. He really took it. And his productivity just skyrocketed because he was able to move more into the sales realm and marketing realm and contact realm and follow-up realm and project deadlines. It was life-changing for him.
Oh, absolutely.
There are so many little bitty things that we can do that's seemingly innocuous. Even clients that have been with me a number of years, I can tell when they've fallen off their calendar. I can tell, when the ego takes over and they think, I don't have to write everything down. I don't have to work the calendar every day, things like that. I can tell when they get off track. And so, as in anything, manufacturing, banking, or sports, basic blocking and tackling doesn't change.
Right.
And so when you stick to the fundamentals, I had a client yesterday. I called him out on his calendar. I knew he wasn't following it or wasn't working it as a tool, because that's really what it is. It's not just a piece of paper or something or computer you enter stuff in. No, it is a tool. And I reminded him of what the great football coach Vince Lombardi said, at halftime of one of the Super Bowls, and they were down, and all the other assistant coaches and the players, they were all trying to figure it out. And when he walked in to give the final words before they went back out on the field for the second half, he held up a football in his hand and said, "Gentlemen, this is a football," which is a return to fundamentals is what he was talking about. And let's get down. You can get the fundamentals down. Mike Tyson was a great boxer. He had the right and the left and the uppercut, and he knew how to use them better than anybody else.
Yeah. I remember they also said about Lombardi and the Packers, they had a very small playbook. Everybody knew what they were going to do, but they knew how to execute it.
Yeah. And execute it better than everybody else. So,
right.
Yeah, that's the key to it. But that's, if there was any other thing that I could add right now that comes to mind, just looking at my own journey, then if anybody is considering leaving a job or a career, do it, and do it now. I'm truly convinced now more than ever that the trade-off between job security and the risk of entrepreneurialism is probably safer than the risk of having a job. Not to mention just what the stress and strain of a job that maybe you think you like. Search your heart, search your soul on that, because I just don't think the trade-off is there anymore. And, I left banking 7 years ago, and I left a bank with solid core values, good financial performance, left it in great hands, and it's in great hands today. However, it sold recently. And those, the hometown bank that would never sell. Well, guess what? They did, and so, okay, so what this is going to happen. So whether a person has an idea to move into anything from network marketing to a creation of a coffee stand, to move their surface and mineral rights business over into oil and gas operating, to wind energy, to mechanical engineering, to accounting practice, whatever it is, they want to leave the big accounting firm and create their own. Do it. Do it now. Do it now.
Yeah, I know. In addition to that, I always tell people this is a great time to actually go into business for yourself. It's easier than ever to get the resources you need to start a business than it has been in the past. You can get part-time resources or, people to fill these different slots of things that you need. And it's never been easier or cheaper, really.
Create your plan of personal growth and leadership development. And as I like to say in this world, come on in, the water's fine.
Great. Well, thank you, David. I really appreciate all the wisdom you've shared with us. It's been an exciting and wonderful conversation. But I want people to know we'll include your contact information in the show notes. Any particular projects or things that you've got coming up that you want people to know about?
Thank you. I am international now in my coaching business. And later in October, I will be heading to, this is a referral of a home office for this foundation. It is here in the United States. And I'm actually going over, they have their first ever Ugandan field director running their team of 20 people over there. And while I know nothing about water well rehabilitation, I do know the leadership around it. I'm very happy to be going to Uganda here pretty soon. We're supposed to go in June, but COVID spiked over there, and here, travel ban, things like that. What that project there made me realize is that regardless of where we are, golly, people are very much the same, no matter where they are. The leadership issues there and here, you'd think they were just down the street from me. that's the thing right there. Technologies has been able to make that happen using Zoom and things like that. Now I'm going to go be on the ground. But the main project that I'm working on right now, and before the show we were kind of talking about this, is I'm writing. I have discovered that there are a lot of stories that I've told more than once that it's time to write them down. Whether they get published or not, that'll be up to my granddaughters. I don't care. But I have years and years of journals, Lynn, where I have kept track of stuff. And a lot of it is just writing stories and my own ideas. Yeah, there's appointments and numbers in there and things like that. But right now, my project is to further enhance what I can do to help leaders become even better leaders. And to also, I don't want to be the artist, if you will, with a lot of painting still in his head when he passed away. So writing is my next big thing, but also being there to help people raise the lid on their own leadership so that they can accomplish what it is they want to accomplish in life, regardless. It doesn't matter what it is. Let's just get in there and do it together.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much, David, and appreciate your time with us. So have a great week.
You too, Lynn. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Again, many thanks to David on sharing his journey and insights. Just as a quick review, some of the questions we covered included his journey from a senior bank executive to creating his own business, how he not only had to learn new things, but unlearn other things, why you should seek out a new room of connections and colleagues as you launch your entrepreneurial work, how a great coach creates value to their clients by providing the truth to them, how attention to your calendar makes a big difference for a solopreneur, and then finally, why he suggests that every leader carry 2 books with them. Again, many thanks to David. And in the show notes, you'll find a link to David's website and the programs that he offers. And finally, if you're considering or starting an Encore career, please take the self-assessment quiz that will help you create some quick clarity around your possible choices. And the link for that is also in the show notes. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.